Hey everyone, it's Tony with Hidden Light Photography, and I know many of you were really excited for this, so here we are. Today, we're going to be learning how to capture, process, and apply night sky flats. So if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. I don't want you to miss out on any useful information. Now let's jump on in and continue our journey with night sky flats. Now that we know what night sky flats can do for us, what are night sky flats? How do we capture them? How do we process them? And finally, how do we apply them to our image? Night sky flats are simply pictures of the night sky. More specifically, pictures of star fields. You want to make sure that you don't have any significant galaxy structure or any nebulosity. You just want star fields. And when you're capturing them, you want to make sure that you're moving your telescope enough so that then you don't have the same stars landing in the same spot. Moving your telescope enough to ensure that you either have a completely different star field in view or that the stars move enough so they don't land in the same spot ensures that the stars cancel out when you're processing. If we were to go into Process, All Processes, and come down to Blink, let's go ahead and open up some night sky flats. Here's my night sky flat folder, and then let's go ahead and choose a few of the images. What you'll see is that they're literally just pictures of the night sky. The stars don't overlap, and they move around. Now, towards the end of this video, I'm going to be going over a template that I built to capture night sky flats. Now, when you're capturing night sky flats, I've done it with 10-second exposures. I've done it with 180-second exposures, like you see here. Once you have them, what do you do with them? Let's go ahead and exit out of Blink, and let's go into Script, Batch Processing, and come down to WBPP. Let's go ahead and reset WBPP. And to start out, let's go to Lights. We'll navigate to our night sky flats and we'll grab all of them. Next, we'll go to Darks and navigate to where I have the matching darks and load those in. Now in here I have some darks that I took at the same time for my flat panel flats, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove them. So all we have are 50 180-second darks, and then we have 30 180-second lights. Now these light frames are going to be our master flat when we're done. Under the Lights tab, we don't need subframe weighting, we don't need image registration, we don't need local normalization, we don't need astrometric solution, we don't even need auto crop. The only thing that I like to change here is under image integration, we'll go to Settings, Rejection Algorithm, Winsorized Sigma Clipping. Under calibration, we can see that our lights are going to be calibrated with our darks, and then the rest here is good. For output directory, let's go ahead and make a folder, YouTube example. Let's go ahead and click Run. And WBPP is going to turn our night sky flats into a nice master flat. So I'm going to go ahead and let this run, and I'll bring you back when it's done. So now WBPP finished processing. Let's go ahead and hop out. And then let's go to File, Open. And then let's go into YouTube example. Under Master, let's go ahead and open up both our Master Dark and Master Light. We don't need the rejection low or rejection high on the dark, and I'm just going to scoot that off to the side. We're going to use that in a minute. We don't need rejection low on the Master Light, but here under rejection high, we can see all of the stars that got just automatically removed. And what that looks like is this. This is a clean, flat frame that we can use. And this is also the exact way that our camera sensor is illuminated under a live environment, under the night sky that we image in. This is our night sky flat, and this is what we're going to be using to calibrate our image. So let's go ahead and minimize our flat. Let's get rid of our rejection high. And let's take a look at something here. Let's go into File, Open, and let's go into Panel Master, and then the Master Light. This is M51 calibrated with a light panel. Now, I've seen a few comments in part 1 where some of you mentioned that you get similar results. Now there's a little bit more going on with this image than just a flat panel, and we're going to get into that in another video. But sometimes we can get some weird, goofy results. Sometimes our image just doesn't calibrate, no matter what we do. We do t-shirt flats, we do twilight flats, we do flats looking at a wall. We do everything in our power, but we just cannot get the image to calibrate correctly. That's where night sky flats comes in, and that is the beauty of night sky flats. Let's go ahead and minimize this for a moment. Move it off to the side. Now our master flat frame, let's name this dark really quick. And then let's open up our master flat frame. Let's name it flat. This frame here was made using 30 separate images of star fields. So this was 30 images averaged together to make. What we're going to do, we have our master dark, we have our master flat. Let's go into File, Open, and let's go and open up a single master flat. Let's grab this one here. Now this right here is one of the frames that was used to make our master flat. So our field here, our flat field, doesn't exactly match, right? It's just one of 30. And what we're going to see here, and the reason I'm doing this is I have a panel flat as well that was taken at the exact same time as I captured these night sky flats. Rotation is key. You always want to make sure to capture the flats at the exact rotation that your lights were captured. So I'm doing it this way because all of these match rotation, and I want to show you something. Let's go back into File, Open, and let's go into Panel Master. Here is a flat frame that was taken with my light panel. This was taken right after I got done taking all of my night sky flats. Let's name this Pan Flat. Let's minimize it. And let's do a little bit of what WBPP does behind the scenes. Let's go into Process, All Processes, and come down to Pixel Math. Let's reset it. And what we want to do is create a new image. And then the new image ID right now is going to be Light Cal. Let's calibrate our light frame. And first what we're going to do is name our light frame Light. And then in Pixel Math, we're going to do light minus dark. What this is going to do is calibrate our light frame with our master dark, and then we're going to get a new image called Light Cal. Let's go ahead and stretch and then minimize our original light. So now our light frame's been calibrated with our master dark. And then what we're going to do here is do Light Cal times median flat divided by flat. And that's going to now calibrate our dark subtracted light frame with our night sky flat. Let's name this master NSF, run it, and then we'll minimize. Put it over here. And now what we're going to do is the same thing, but with pan flat. Now what we're going to do is calibrate our dark subtracted light frame with our master flat that was created with the flat panel. Let's name this master pan. Run it. Let's minimize light cal. And let's move pixel math off to the side. And what I want to do is grab master NSF. So here's master NSF, and here's master pan. Now what this did is it calibrated. Let's do a quick little blink here. So you see how it calibrated the flat field, and it did a very good job. Now let's compare master NSF to master pan. Do you see that difference? So we have master NSF and we have master pan. Everything is in the exact same rotation. Everything perfectly matches each other. Let's make it a little bit more obvious. Let's exit out of pixel math for a moment. Let's go to process, all processes, and come down to morphological transformation. We'll do morphological median, run it on master pan, run it on master NSF. And here, master NSF will do a quick auto stretch. Let's move on to master pan and do an auto stretch. Now it's much more obvious. This is the type of scenario where a night sky flat really helps out. You can do everything right, but for some reason, it just will not calibrate. And most of the time, there's something that's causing this, whether it be light leaks, it could be internal reflections, it could be something that's shiny on the inside of your telescope that you need to flock, you need to locate and flock. But a night sky flat captures it and it calibrates. So now let's minimize these really quick. Let's go back over here. So again, this image here has just a little bit of something else going on with it. And again, I'll get into that in another video. But if you have an image that just will not calibrate, let's go into File, Open, and let's go into NSF. Actually, let's go into Luminance, Night 2, Master, Master Light. I'm also going to show you with this image here why it's so important to move your stars, move your telescope enough so nothing matches, because I didn't move it enough and I had to use clone stamp to get a few of the remaining stars out. But let's do an auto stretch and you can see how much better M51 was calibrated. We have this versus this. These little splotches, that's just my handiwork with clone stamp. But as long as you move the telescope enough so you don't capture the same stars in the same spot, they will mathematically disappear with WBPP like you saw. So when you're capturing your images, your main images, always remember, and I catch myself doing it as well, you know, you're running late, or you know, you want to do your flat frames after the session, but maybe you wake up a little bit too late and you have somewhere to be. Always, always, always make sure that you capture your flat frames at the exact rotation. Always, always, always capture your flat frames in the same session that you're capturing your light frames. And if for some reason your light panel flats are not calibrating your image the way it should, kind of like this, you always have an option to fall back on, and that's going to be night sky flats. Now, as far as exposure time and number of frames, you want to make sure that you get up off of the noise floor, right? With a light panel, we're using enough light that we can use shorter exposures, and we can sometimes get away with fewer frames. When you're capturing night sky flats, you don't have as much light to work with. They can be noisy. So I've done this with 10-second exposures, which is this right here, and I've also done it with 180-second exposures. But you want to make sure that you have enough frames to overcome the noise. It's just like when you're capturing your main image, you want to have enough frames to overcome the noise. So if I'm doing 10-second exposures, I might capture 100 to 150 frames, or if I'm doing 180-second exposures, I might capture 30 frames. And just with that math alone, you can see that night sky flats can take a little bit to capture, but at the end of the day, they are so worth it. So now that we know how to capture and process night sky flats, how do we actually apply them to our images? What I like to do is go into Process, All Processes, and come down to Cosmetic Correction. Then I'll check Use Auto Detect and check Hot Sigma. From there, I'll grab the triangle, drag it onto the workspace, and close out of Cosmetic Correction. Clicking on the little icon in the top right, we can rename it, and I like to name it CosCore. I'll move the icon off to the side, go into Script, Batch Processing, and Weighted Batch Preprocessing, or WBPP. Once we're in WBPP, I always like to reset, make sure all of the cache is gone, and then I'll go ahead and choose Lights, navigate to the Lights folder that I'm going to be using, and then select all of the lights that I want to process. From here, I'll click on Flats and navigate to the flat that we just made. In other words, the master night sky flat that we created earlier in the video. Now, even if you capture the night sky flats in a light format, by clicking on Flats and then choosing the master flat that you created, it'll put it in the Flats tab. And WBPP will be able to pick up that it's a master file. From here, we'll select Darks. If the master dark that was created when you made the master night sky flat matches your light frames, such as over here, my light frames are 180 seconds, my master dark is 180 seconds, they all share the same gain, offset, and temperature, you can go ahead and actually choose the master dark. Otherwise, you can navigate to the folder that contains the matching dark frames. Select them and click Open. From here, you'll run WBPP like you normally would. We'll go ahead in this case and get rid of the flat darks that I created for my panel flat, leaving us with our dark frames, our master night sky flat, and our light frames. I'll leave everything at default. Under calibration, we can see by it being highlighted green that our light frames will be calibrated with our master night sky flat and our dark frames. For cosmetic correction, under lights, so if you have the lights highlighted, you'll see cosmetic correction. I'll uncheck automatic and then choose the template that we created earlier. Since this is monochrome, I'm going to leave CFA unchecked. If it was one-shot color, I would check CFA. In post-processing, we can see what's going to happen, as well as the pipeline. We'll choose an output folder. In this case, I'm going to choose YouTube example, select folder, and once WBPP is set up the way that you want it, all we have to do is just click Run and then Continue. And I also have a video going over WBPP, which I'll have linked in the description of this video here. Now let's head in the Nina and see how I made the template to automate night sky flats. To capture night sky flats, I created a template in Nina that I can use in conjunction with my normal imaging sequence if I so wish. If we were to go to Sequencer, Advanced Sequencer, come up to Templates, we can see my night sky flats template. We can drag it onto the workspace under Sequence Target Area. It's a little bit of a bigger one, so it can take a couple of seconds to load up. But once it does, you'll notice target information, a set of instructions, and then finally all of the capture. Now, the reason that I have target information is not necessarily to bring us to our target. We don't want to be on our target when we capture the night sky flats. Our target is most likely a galaxy or a nebula, and we can't have those in our flats. But the main reason that I have this is for rotation. By having a set target to go to, we can utilize slew, center, and rotate. Rotation is critically important when it comes to flats. It has to exactly match what our light frames are. So the reason that I put this in here is so we don't forget to rotate before we take our flats. Now, in order to use this, let's go ahead and exit out. If we go into Sky Atlas, let's say we want to image M51. We're not worried about framing for this. So what we're going to do is add target to sequence. We're going to go to Sequencer, and here we see the night sky flats template. Again, it may take a couple of seconds to load, but once it does, we see the target information. The main piece here is rotation. Now, for my M51 sequence, I'm imaging at 0 degrees rotation. So when I click play, what's going to happen is Nina's going to slew, center, and rotate using the information here in the target area. Once the rotation is set, Nina's going to put it on the filter that I want to use. Let's say luminance. And then we're going to run autofocus to make sure that we're in focus. Once autofocus is done, we're going to do capture. And here you'll see a series of slew to altitude and azimuth. The reason that I'm using altitude and azimuth is those are fixed locations in the sky. Altitude and azimuth does not follow celestial objects. Now, the general rule of thumb is for every minute of time that passes, the celestial objects move about 1/4 of a degree. We don't want to have the stars in the same location in every single frame. Otherwise, they won't mathematically disappear when we process our flats. So by using altitude and azimuth, instead of using the locations of celestial objects, we're using fixed locations in the sky. So our first one is going to be at azimuth 120. So that's going to be a little bit between east and south. East is 90 degrees, south is 180 degrees. And then we're going to be up around zenith. Now, it's up to you if you want to use guiding. If you're using longer exposures and your mount isn't capable of handling it, I would recommend using guiding. I'm not looking for pinpoint stars. I'm just looking for them to disappear during the flat processing stage. So I use guiding just to be on the safe spot. If I'm doing 10-second exposures, then I won't use guiding. But if I'm doing, 180-second exposures, I'll probably use guiding just to be on the safe spot. Now, I've done night sky flats with 10-second exposures, and I've done them with 180-second exposures. What you're really looking for is to have enough frames to get above the signal to noise floor. You want to make sure that you don't have a noisy flat. So you want to have kind of a happy medium between number of captures as well as exposure time. So once we start guiding, if we choose to do so, we're going to take our exposure. we'll set our exposure time. Our frame type is flat. We'll set our gain and offset to match what our light frames are. We always want to make sure we match. And then once this is done, we're going to stop guiding and move to the second spot. In this case, we're going to stay around zenith, but we're going to move 5 degrees. And then we're going to keep repeating this. We'll keep moving, staying around zenith. And the reason why I have this set up around zenith, you want to make sure that you're evenly lit, right? You don't want to get into light pollution or anything like that. You want to have a nice sky to image in. If you look straight down the horizon, you're imaging through twice as much atmosphere. That's more chance of something happening to your flats. And then once we capture all 10, what the sequence does is start over. So what you want to make sure of, let's think back to that general rule of thumb that I outlined. For every 1 minute, celestial objects move roughly 1/4 of a degree. So if you're using 60-second exposures, that means that when you finish the first set of 10, then 10 minutes would have passed, which is about 2.5 degrees of movement with the celestial objects. So that's enough movement so stars won't be in the same location. You may want to adjust this if you're using shorter exposures. Again, you want to make sure that the stars do not fall in the same place. Now, let's go ahead and make this look a little bit cleaner here. Let's go back up to 1 to 10. We have 11 to 20, 21 to 30. If you wanted to have more exposures, all you need to do is click this little copy button and it'll add another set. And then you can just go ahead and name this for what it is. So in this case, 31 to 40. Now let's go ahead and get rid of that for a second. And let's say that we want to set up an imaging sequence. So we have our imaging sequence. Let's just pretend that this has all of M51's information in here, all of our exposure information. But we want to start out with our night sky flats. We'll grab our night sky flats template and just drag it on top. So what'll happen is our night sky flats will get completed, and then we'll move on to our actual sequence. Now here's something that I highly recommend, and I'm going to get into this in the next video. We're setting our rotation in night sky flats. So when we open this up, we're going to see that we have our rotation set. If this is the case and you're using this template, you don't want to use slew, center, and rotate. Instead, what you're going to want to do is add an instruction, or I should say replace the slew, center, and rotate with slew and center. You don't want Nina to go ahead and accidentally move the rotation when you take your light frames. Now I'm going to have my night sky flats template as a download on my website. And then what you'll do is once you download it, save it to a folder that you can find it in. And then once you have it saved, all you have to do is just click the little open button, find the night sky flats template. It'll go ahead and load. And then you'll just click the little save button, and then that'll put it in your templates. So you can go ahead and find it. So I hope you found this video useful, and if you did and want to help support the channel, check out that join button and consider joining a Hidden Light Photography membership. There's lots of perks in it for you, and your support helps me bring you more content. Another way you can help support the channel is checking out my High Point Scientific affiliate link if you're in the market for some new gear. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and the support helps me keep the channel growing. Also, do me a favor. That channel icon that popped up, hit that channel icon and subscribe. I don't want you to miss out on any valuable information. Drop a comment in the comment section. What have you done to resolve flat field issues? Have you tried night sky flats or thinking about it? And then, check out that next video. Until the next time, clear skies.